Every year, Game Informer gives their own Game of the Year award to the most amazing game of their time. With 2019 coming to an end and the upcoming Game of the Year reveal coming in the start of 2020, there is no better time than now to take a look into Game Informer's video game favorites and recap the shining stars of our time. This is every Game Informer's Game of the Year from 2000 to now. Coming in at 2000, we have Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. This was released for the PlayStation, PC, Game Boy Color, and Dreamcast. For some reason, it was one of the most beloved games of 2000. While I wasn't even born at the time, many loved this unique skater game where you got paid to perform tricks as famous skaters, running down ramps, grinding on rails. You know, must have been an exhilarating time. In the 2001 spot, we have Metal Gear Solid 2: Sons of Liberty. This game was released for the new PlayStation 2 console and was able to display what the new hardware was capable of. It being the fourth game in a long-running series was said to be ahead of its time, a primary example of artistic expression in video games. You play as an agent named Raiden and have to sneak around enemies and distract them using a whole range of tactics and skills. The enemies were said to have great AI for the time. It's no wonder Game Informer gave this game the Game of the Year award. 2002. On the note of shooters and PlayStation 2 releases, Grand Theft Auto Vice City wins the award for 2002. Unlike Metal Gear Solid 2, Grand Theft Auto Vice City is an open-world action-adventure game played from the third-person perspective. Vice City was said to raise the bar for video games, being the fourth greatest PlayStation release. In Vice City, you play as Tommy Vercetti, running around to commit crimes like all the Grand Theft Auto games we know and love today. The game was so good that it got ported to Android and iOS in 2012 and even got a PlayStation 4 release in 2015. 2003. The first GameCube game on the list, we've got The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker. Being the 10th game in the Legend of Zelda series, you play as young Link in an open-world setting where you fight enemies, complete puzzles, and collect items to assist your journey. The game was said to be a masterpiece and even earned a high-definition re-release for the Wii U in 2013. Coming in at the 2004 spot, we have Halo 2. Offering a single-player campaign and a multiplayer game mode, Halo 2 had you playing as two possible different characters, Master Chief or a Covenant Elite, the Arbiter. You go down a linear level-based game with both a human and alien arsenal on the mission to save the galaxy. Many have said that Halo 2's had an amazing matchmaking system, making it a large turning point in the gaming industry during the 2000s. This game was later re-released in high definition with the Halo the Master Chief Collection in 2014, 10 years later. In 2005, we have Resident Evil 4. Playing a third-person perspective as a Leon S. Kennedy, Resident Evil 4 has you on the quest to literally save the president's daughter from a zombie-like plague. Perhaps this wasn't so cliché in 2005, but that's besides the point. With an intuitive inventory system and the addition of context-sensitive controls, the replacement of a crosshair with a laser, and a unique upgrade system, Resident Evil had people hooked, to say the least. 2006. For the second time on this list, we have a classic game, The Legend of Zelda: Twilight Princess. Playing again as young Link, you're on an adventure mission to save the kingdom of Hyrule. Just like its predecessor, you explore the world while solving puzzles and defeating baddies. An HD version of this game was remade for the Wii U in 2016. Coming in at 2007, we have a first-person shooter, BioShock. Published by 2K Games on Windows and Xbox 360, the game was set in an underwater city where in a single-player campaign you attempt to survive against a bunch of monsters. Bill Gardner said that Resident Evil actually had a big influence on their game. The game was recognized for its visuals, sound, and engaging gameplay. BioShock was proof that video games could be considered art. 2008. Another repeat on the list, we've got Grand Theft Auto 4. The fourth installment in the series. It's just the same good old GTA fans have loved. You play as Niko Bellic this time around, an Eastern European man coming to Liberty City in an attempt to fulfill the American dream. With a classic wanted meter that appears every time you commit a crime, a deep, linear mission campaign story, this game really was a star of 2008. Coming in at 2009, we have a great Naughty Dog game, Uncharted 2: Among Thieves. This PlayStation exclusive for the PS3 was a third-person action-adventure game that has you playing as a man named Nathan Drake, an ultimate thief with the ultimate plan to steal a Mongolian oil lamp, said to have mystical powers. The game's actors had been recorded with animation capture to further the game's realism. This is a large reason as to why it was so immersive. It also featured a multiplayer game mode which had deathmatch, plunder, elimination, turf war, king of the hill, and chain reaction. 2010. For the third Rockstar game on the list, we've got a game very similar to GTA, the original Red Dead Redemption. This game takes place after the events of Red Dead Redemption 2, a game released earlier last year. It is a third-person, open-world action-adventure shooter from which you play as a John Marston, where just like the second, gunfights made up some of the most amazing parts of the missions. The game features both a single-player and multiplayer game mode. In 2011, we have a Bethesda game. Can you guess it? The Elder Scrolls V: Skyrim. Released for PC, 360, and PS3, you begin the game from escaping a prison, slaying a dragon, and, absorb its soul? Anyways, from there, with the soul inside of you, you end up amazing a city as they claim that you are the Dragonborn. You begin by customizing your character, and as you progress, you have to improve your character skills and use spells and weapons to kill all sorts of strange monsters. It sounds pretty intuitive to me, and clearly the RPG had many intrigued in the year of 2011. It's still being updated and people still continue to play it today. It even got ported to VR, being named one of the greatest VR games to play. 2012. Mass Effect 3. This game is another action RPG game where you play as a Commander Shepard. You have the option of 6 different character classes and completing quests for XP, for which you can use points on a skill tree. You can interact with NPCs, and depending on the things you say, you change the direction that your game goes in. Your game could easily have a different storyline than your friend that is also playing Mass Effect 3, just like real life. Mass Effect 3 also offers a multiplayer game mode. The game was nominated for a whole load of rewards, but managed to get Game Informer's Game of the Year for 2012. 2013. Being an amazing PS3 exclusive, The Last of Us was considered one of the greatest video games ever made. The Last of Us was a touching single-player game that's based in a post-apocalyptic world where you must protect this infected girl who is apparently immune, in hopes that she has the key to some sort of cure. You have to scavenge for weapons and use these to fight through enemies. This game was re-released for the PS4 and was overall just a brilliant title for such an early time in 2013. In 2014, we have Dragon Age Inquisition. This game is another action role-playing game developed by BioWare. In this game, the player assumes the role of the Inquisitor, a supposed chosen one to stop an ancient darkspawn known as Corypheus. Dragon Age Inquisition featured excessive character customization and a collect and build style of progression. Combat is based around the player's prep, positioning, and team cooperation. 2015, The Witcher 3: Wild Hunt. This game is a third-person action role-playing game. You play as Geralt of Rivia. He is a monster hunter known as the Witcher, and from the main character's title, you can probably assume what this game is about. You use a whole load of movement and fighting mechanics to take on amazing enemies. The large open world is sure to suck up much of your time, making it difficult to sometimes come back to the storyline. With 20 million copies sold by June this year, it's clear to see why the third iteration of The Witcher got Game of the Year. In 2016, we have a game that I have dumped hundreds of hours on, Overwatch. I first remember Overwatch being described as a first-person MOBA created by Blizzard. It is essentially a strategy-intensive first-person shooter in which 2 teams of 6 players can choose out of a roster of 30 heroes and battle head-to-head. Each character has their own abilities, characteristics, and mechanics that makes each character unique. Unlike most shooters where you play for most amount of kills, Overwatch is more objective-based. It is extremely competitive and even has a pro league where professional teams compete. It's no wonder it got Game of the Year for 2016. 2017, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Released for the Switch, the latest installment of the Zelda franchise has you once again returning as Link, now in a stellar open-world environment on the new Nintendo Switch to explore the world of Hyrule with a whole load of new mechanics now, for example, paragliding. But just like the last Zelda game on the list, you run around finding items, fighting monsters, and completing puzzles. 2018. For the last one on the list, we've got a killer, God of War. Developed by Santa Monica Studios, you play as a former mythological god of war, Kratos. It is a combo-based action-adventure game with puzzle elements. With a 25 to 35 hour long campaign, there's a clear reason as to how 10 million people bought this game already in just the last year. For the first 18 years of the century, it is clear to say that we've made huge jumps in the quality of video games. But that being said, what game would you like to see win this year? How about Death Stranding, Control, Borderlands 3, Mortal Kombat 11? Well, stay updated with Game Informer to find out which game will win in early 2020. This was Giovanni Palazzolo, and thank you for watching.